One thing that happens in relationships that can be super frustrating is when you put a lot of energy, time into reaching out, trying to include someone, trying to build up the relationship, and you get very little or a fraction of what you put into it, you get that back. And I've been reflecting because this has happened in a couple of my personal relationships recently, and it has me, if it's just once, then it's like, okay, what's going on with that person? But if it happens a couple of times, then I want to reflect. I'm like, I'm the common denominator. What's going on? And so with a couple people in my family, I've noticed that I've been putting out energy. I've been reaching out, texting, calling, sending gifts. This is not just like over like a week. This is months to years, and just very little back. And it's frustrating. It feels disrespectful to someone. I mean, that's how I interpret it, which we'll get to in a second. Is that really what's going on? But it's just very frustrating. It makes me feel like I don't have control over certain things, which sounds weird because a relationship, there's two people. You don't want to have control over somebody else. That's not what I want. But there's like a sense where I don't have control over situations. That's all I want to, I guess, explain it. I don't actually want control over someone, especially not someone in my family, but I want to feel like I have an ability to influence my relationships. I think deep down we all want that. That's part of what makes us comfortable in a relationship, is knowing that it's kind of a little bit predictable or consistent, something like that. But anyways, I'm reflecting on people in my family who are not putting energy into my relationships with them like I'm putting out with them, and why it's so frustrating. And I'm realizing, I'm thinking about, have I ever done this? Have I ever pulled away from someone and just, it's not a ghosting, it's not completely, but you're going a little bit on dark mode. You're going quiet. And what have been the issues that I've been going through when I do that with people? Because I definitely have, especially in my early 20s when I really didn't have my shit together. Why did I do that? What was I going through in my mind? What was I processing that I needed that space to pull back? And this has kind of helped me figure out a couple of things that's helped me take action with one family member, and it's already improved greatly. And then with another family member, I'm gonna approach it. I'm gonna do something similar. I'll get into what that was. But one thing I realized is a lot of times when we pull back, or other people pull back from a relationship, one, it's because we're processing something, or we're struggling, we're wrestling with something, and we don't have it in a ready state where we feel like we can communicate it in a simple, effective, and non-offensive way, a way that's not gonna piss somebody off or burn a relationship. And so what we feel like is the best thing to do is just kind of keep it quiet. That's the safest thing to do. Hold it in until we figure out how to articulate it in a way that someone else will understand us. And I've definitely done that. I've realized that. And so one thing I've realized to kind of speed up this process, because if this could go on for decades, right? Waiting until someone comes around and figures out how to articulate something, or maybe it's subconscious. They don't even know what they want to articulate, and then we might never have the relationship we want with them. And so one thing I found just amazingly powerful, and it's amazing how, it's like John Wooden says, it's like, it's all about the basics, the fundamentals. Just practice the fundamentals. That has been listening, and going into relationships, going into conversations, not with a plan of what I'm going to say or what I need to say, but just purely to understand. So one relationship that I've really approached in a different way over the last 12 months or so is with my sister. And I've really made an intention to get closer with her and understand, how she sees things and what's important to her, what are her values. And in turn, I'm hoping that over time she'll, that'll be the same for me. She'll want to know more about what's important to me. And so I've gone into our conversations just listening, just what have you been up to, starting off with surface level stuff. But then as she's talking, thinking about what are the deeper values that are important to her, hearing, her talk about work. It's like, oh, so recognition for doing a good job is really important to you. And as she's kind of telling stories, like showing her that I'm hearing, not just saying, oh, I understand. Oh, okay, that's great. And so just pulling back and just listening and looking for the underlying values that she's communicating when we're talking. And a lot of those values are about connection, cooperation, communication, feeling understood, feeling heard, feeling respected. That's such a big one. And I relate with that too. I want people to respect me. And typically when we have people in our lives that don't respect us, we pull back from the relationship. So anyways, this has completely changed my relationship with my sister, just going with listening and then listening for the deeper values and then reflecting those deeper values back to her. Another relationship that I need to do this with, I'm in the process, is with my brother. And so things over the last couple of years have just not been where I want them to be. And so I'm going to approach him with a very similar approach of just, let me go in, different than I have in the past where, it's all about me, talking about me, what am I up to, and, judging what he's doing, maybe even, subtle criticisms or overt criticisms, and just go in and just listen and see where he's at. What is he up to? What values is he pursuing, both, externally in the real world and also internally? What psychological values is he pursuing? Might be the same or very different than my sister. I'm sad to say I couldn't tell you exactly what those values are. I think when we really know someone, we can lay out their value map. I could tell you exactly what my girlfriend's values are. Not in terms of, oh, she likes this band and she likes this pistachio gelato. And I mean, that's all super superficial level stuff. The real values is like, do they value honesty? Do they value integrity? Their core values. And then beyond that, what values do they look to achieve from other people? Is it cooperation, collaboration, connection? Community is kind of like a fuzzy one. I know a lot of people say that, but like, what does that actually mean? What do you get out of community? I think it's deeper. It's more like connection. But just one thing I've learned is if you just listen, that is like therapy for people. And I've had it too, where it's like after a long day, I'm sitting down having dinner with my girlfriend and we're just talking and her just listening, it just feels good to have someone hear you. And so I just want to make this quick video. If you have someone in your life where the relationship isn't where you want it to be, maybe it used to be great and you guys have drifted apart, friends, business partners, whoever, and you're like, how can I get it back? Send a gift or go travel there. Like a lot of that stuff's great, but the 80-20, the 80-20 rule, that 80% is if you just get on the phone and listen and don't have any agenda, don't try to, question them or what they're doing, but just find out what values are they pursuing, their deeper values. And it's like a new relationship, a new chapter. It opens up. And it's refreshing too, because it feels like you really have a connection with somebody. So let me know how that goes. If there's someone in your life that you've been needing to listen to or you have been listening to and it's changed everything, love to hear the story.